All right, we're live. Good evening, Shifties. We're back. My name is Tito Amogus. This is Shift the Journey. For you, those of y'all who haven't joined us before, this is a show where I get to interview somebody different every week, and they can talk about their career journey. And being a veteran myself, I have had like the craziest, transition from one completely different career. I mean, one career to a completely different career. Like when I retired from the Air Force in 2015. This is like a passion project of mine. I just want to get some info out there so that people know that if you're looking for a career change, it's possible. There are a million twists and turns that you can make in your life. And if you're looking to make a change in your career, it's not impossible. There are a bunch of different ways to do it. So I don't want you to think that we're coming with a blueprint, because we're not. I don't have a blueprint for anything. I'll tell you that. I may have the blueprints for my house. I don't know, but I didn't create them. So I don't have a blueprint for any kind of career shift or transition or change or however you want to say it. But I can tell you, based on all the experiences I've had and the experiences of all my guests over the past, I don't know, what's it been, 26, 27 episodes? This is the 27th episode, that it is possible and that there are people out there who are willing to help you share their story. By sharing their story, hopefully, you can make a change yourself. All right. So our guest this week is a super special guest. I always say every week that we have a special guest today. And it's true, because to me, all of these people are special. They have something, they bring something special to the table. But this guest is a super special guest. This lady, I grew up with her. We went to the same church in Loma Linda, California. Please welcome our guest, Melissa Brummer. Yay!
Yay!
Oh, man. All right. So where are you from originally? So that maybe they missed that part where I said that we went to church.
Loma Linda Grand Terrace. We would call it the Inland Empire.
Yeah, the IE. That's right.
The IE.
Yeah. I grew up in Riverside myself. Yeah, we were before we started the live, we were just talking about the heat, because I was talking about the heat down here in Mississippi, on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. If you don't know, this is where I live. I live about halfway between New Orleans and Mobile, and it's like an hour and 15 minutes to downtown New Orleans. It is so hot and gross right now. It's August, obviously, and August is like so nasty, right? So it's 6 p.m. It's 95 degrees with 80% humidity. Welcome to Mississippi. And so we were talking about like the dry heat. And you want some dry heat? Inland Empire is for you. Let me tell you. Oh man. Yeah. I don't know how I survived, other than I stayed inside a lot. I don't know. So all right. So where are you living at now?
I live in Pacific Beach, San Diego, California. And I know it's not 95 here, but because when you live closer to the beach, we were talking about this earlier, that the humidity and there's a lot of older places that you live and they don't have AC, which I don't. So I got the fan blowing right now. So if I sweat a little bit, it's because the humidity, I mean, it's only like maybe 78, but the humidity like can go 80, 90 degrees humidity.
Yeah. Here, the only time people don't have AC usually is when like a hurricane comes through and knocks out all the power.
Yeah.
And then everybody's just miserable. So thankfully, nothing like that has happened in a while, but hopefully it won't happen for a while. Wilson, man, what's happening, Wilson? I like that your intro is different every time and seemingly ad-libbed. Dude, it is 100% ad-libbed. Are you kidding me? I just want to, sometimes I just want to come on here and just say a lot. And I feel like, verbal distractors are like the bane of my existence. Whatever. And so, yeah, it is fully ad-lib. There are a few things that I go over every time, and you'll hear them if you watch more than one episode. But back to our guest, Melissa. So we were talking, and you were saying that like, oh man, I had so many jobs. And so let's go back to what's the like field that you stayed in the longest?
Banking and mortgage for sure.
Banking and mortgage.
Yeah.
And so was
Over
that
20
like
years.
okay, so hey, let's start there. So in like getting into banking and mortgage, how did you do that?
When I moved to Lake Havasu City, another dry, very hot area, Arizona, um, somehow I just got into the banking business and I started as a teller. And like 3 months later, I got up to a personal banker. So that's how I started my banking, mortgage industry business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when you went into it, did you have any goals like, oh, I want to I don't know. I don't think anybody goes, oh, I want to be in this 20 years. But like, because when I joined the Air Force, I was going in for 4 years, getting my, GI Bill and going back to school. That didn't happen. 20 years later, I was like, hey, I got my degree, but 20 years, right? So I know you didn't go in saying, oh, I want to spend 20 years in this industry, but did you have any like career goals like, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that?
Yeah. So I'm thinking because, I was in the banking, so I was always looking. I'm very driven and always looking to move up when it comes to whatever job I do. I'm a hard worker. My parents, they instilled in me. So um, I started doing that, and then I got, like I said, I got promoted to personal banker. And then I was looking into like maybe the um, private banker. Um, but then I started looking, someone was talking to me about mortgages. Hey,
Hmm.
you'll make more money. You should be a loan officer. We can train you. Da da da. I kind of was scared because my kid was young at the time and I was a single mom. But then I'm like, hey, why not? I'm not very scared of change. So
Uh-huh. Yeah.
so I did that, and it was commission. So I was it was off and on. So
Yeah.
then,
So was it like a lot of sales?
yeah. So you know, I learned how to be a loan officer, and it was all sales. So that's what I
Mhm.
would do. And it was good. Some months were good, some months were bad, but
Yeah.
I really, being a single mom, wanted more of a structured
Oh yeah.
pay. So part time, I was working as a server.
Hmm.
So I did two jobs. There was many times I did 2 to 3 jobs at a time, but I
Ooh.
stuck in the mortgage. And then when I got an offer with Countrywide, I was still looking. I was like, I need a salary, hourly, a fixed income.
Yeah.
So Countrywide, which is no longer anymore, um,
Yeah.
they offered me it was an internal consultant. So basically you take all the walk-ins and the calls, but you get so much alone and you make so much an hour. So it worked out for
Okay.
me at the time.
Okay. Yeah. So what is something that you learned along the way, like from going from a teller to you doing like loan officer mortgage stuff? What's something you learned along the way that helped you to progress in your field?
I'm just always like my parents. They worked hard growing up, and that always instilled in me. And I've always had this drive to, or ambition to, get better and better
Hmm.
and do better with whatever I have. I've never liked being happy with just a regular paid job and okay. I've always been I've always had that drive and that ambition to do better than what I am doing right now.
Yeah.
Or basically, I wasn't happy doing what I was doing, so I wanted to do
Yeah.
something else.
Oh, there it is right there.
Yeah.
I think, it's funny. So, like, one of the things that you learn along the way is you're doing all these different jobs
Mm-hmm.
because, like, I know people who had the same job for like 20 years in the Air Force, right? And I'm like, dude, that could never be me because it wasn't me. And there are some jobs where I was like, this is all right. There was another job where I was like, dude, I can't do this the rest of my life. This is terrible. And then, like, my last job, I was like, oh, I'm a data analyst, huh? And I need to find out how to do that on the outside. Like I was in prison. It was the military. When I get out of the military, that's what I want to do. And so, yeah, I think that's a good takeaway that, you don't have to like everything you do, but if
No.
you do really well at it, you can find your way out of it and
Mm-hmm.
find something
Mm-hmm.
better.
Yes.
So 20 years in banking and mortgage. What made you leave that?
Okay, so I'll tell you. So there were things happening, and I believe that everything you do is a purpose. Everything you do is a purpose. There's a reason for everything. To me, God has a plan for you, and I know you there's little signs that that going through life, like, for example, okay, I got laid off at Countrywide. I was there for like almost 4 years, just thinking, we almost thought we were going to get laid off, but then Bank of America bought us out. So
Mhm.
then we thought we were okay. And then all of a sudden, I was just devastated. I was going through a bad relationship. My daughter finally, she wanted to move back. So I was like, I need to move back to California. So going back to California, I was trying to find it. Well, I was promised a job, but never got. Bank of America did not give me a job. So I went back to what I was good at. I found 5 months later, I finally found a job with, it used to be called Downey Savings. Now it's, oh my gosh, not Union Bank. What's a US Bank? So
I thought you were about to pull up another tab and go Google it.
no. So, okay. So I was banker there, totally not happy, but it was a
Yeah.
job, part-time job. Then my aunt got sick.
Mhm.
I had to quit my job and help my aunt out for a while. And then I'm trying to think, after US Bank, oh, the credit union. I got a job with Union Bank, got laid off. See, there's been so many times up and down that I
Yeah.
get laid off. Then
Yeah.
I got a job with a credit union. Go ahead.
What year about was that? Was it like, did it have anything to do with the pandemic?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. Oh,
But
not yet.
mortgage,
Okay.
if you notice, mortgage and banking, it's always up and down, especially mortgage. And once, when the crisis hits, then boom, people get laid off. And credit union, I got a job with quality control. I started moving up. I was Countrywide. I switched to what's the loan processor. I got switched to a senior processor, then going back to banking. But then the credit union saw that I had experience in processing. And this is when they got really, with the Countrywide crash, how it was so bad with the negative amortization and all that stuff. So
Mm.
they were really, what do you call it? They were really being like police, like, so they had quality control. And so we would, review the files and make sure there's no funky business going on, monkey
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. Monkey business.
And
Yeah.
then I was going back to school already. Back in Havasu, I started going back to school a little bit, but it was hard to juggle. And then with the credit union, I was going back to school again for a little bit. I got my associates in psychology.
Okay.
And then at this time, I was getting sick. I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, there's all these little signs that was just trying to get me out of the business, but I didn't listen. I didn't do self-care. I didn't take care of myself. I was always work,
Ooh.
work, work. Work
Mm.
hard, be a slave, work a lot of hours.
Oh yeah.
I moved to Orange County because I was gonna move with a boyfriend, but it never happened. But things happen for a reason. I moved to Orange County. Um, I worked at Loan Depot, quality control. Then I became a manager at this other place, but both jobs were very micromanaged. I have to tell you guys this. Loan Depot was like a sweatshop.
Oh no.
You were working next to, there's no cubicles, nothing. And you were
Oh man.
and we were very micromanaged. So I left, worked to another company, smaller company, but I worked so much, I got sick again. In the credit union, I started getting sick. Didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I had a herniated, I thought I had carpal tunnel, had a herniated disc.
Oh my gosh.
Just a lot. I was getting migraines like terrible.
Yeah.
I would get shots on my hip for my migraines. Even so, okay. So I got long story short, I got my bachelor's in Orange County. Well, I moved back 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
I got my bachelor's. It was the end of 2017. My bachelor's I switched from psychology to criminal justice with an emphasis on victim advocacy.
Oh,
So
okay.
when I lived in Orange County, I started volunteering. I had no idea how bad it was. I was working as a volunteer, Saddleback Church, for local human trafficking.
Oh
I'm
gosh.
not kidding you. Not kidding you. It was close to Disneyland.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
My
bet.
heart was I just felt like I needed to serve. This is what,
Oh yeah.
I had these little signs telling me, ever since, when I was younger, when I was I think this was junior high school,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be either like a social work or counselor.
Mm-hmm.
And my sophomore English teacher was saying, you come out with these interesting subjects. He would always have us do a 1-page journal. And he was saying he could see me either as a counselor or a news reporter. I don't know why he said that, but anyways, so I moved back to Orange County. I moved back to San Diego in 2018. I got a job again. I've been a manager, quality control manager, um, compliance manager. And then I also started volunteering for a sexual assault team for nonprofit, which I still help out once in a while, but I'm doing the hotlines now. So for
Okay.
sexual assault, domestic violence, that kind of stuff, I've been doing for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2021, trying to forward because I've been to several jobs, but my last 2 jobs, 2021 and last year was 23. Okay, 2022. So 2021, I got hired at this small mom and pop place, but I wanted to get my underwriting license. So I got my underwriting license and I was still a manager of compliance and QC. I was there only 6 months, got laid off. Month later, this is when the crisis started happening, which I didn't think was happening, but it started happening again.
Yeah.
Mind you, I was still kind of sick with I've been seeing so many different doctors, neurologist, neurosurgeon, never had surgery, but I had some I have to get an MRI every 2 years because I have the cyst. If it gets bigger, because it's close to my spine, it's called syngromelia. I don't know how to explain it, but
No, I think that's a good explanation. That sounds
if
pretty
it gets
scary.
bigger, then they have to do surgery. But so I've been to so many, but so the next job I had, I was a compliance lead manager, the only woman out of all the managers. I got a job like 2 months later, so thank God I did. My boss was awesome, but I'm not kidding you. I was working so much because
Mm.
I was making a lot of money, but salary. So I was working, 10-hour days, and I was getting sick. And one time it was so crazy. I thought I had food poisoning because I went on vacation just for the weekend, went to Havasu, came back, thought I had food poisoning. Well, I was sick like 7 to 10 days.
Hmm.
And I didn't really think about it. And then a month later, I got sick. I'm not kidding you. It was like 3 to 4 weeks. I was nauseous, throwing up, having migraines again. I did this whole blood, all my lab work. They couldn't find anything. I
Is it
started having
stress?
anxiety. Yeah, stress. I'm not
Yeah.
kidding you.
Yeah, no, I believe it because there's a couple times in the
Mhm.
last you got a stray hair that keeps going in the mouth.
Yes.
This is why I take care of my hair like this, so I don't have
Woo!
to deal with this. Actually, no, that's not true because I look down all the time. I got like mustache and beard hair, and it's like hanging out of my mouth. Terrible. But anyway, totally off subject. But
Woo!
no, like the work stress is a real thing. You know, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't like rest, your body eventually is going to be like, hey, you're going to
Mhm.
rest whether
Mhm.
you like it or not. Because I experienced that twice in the last, I don't know, what's it been, 3 years? Twice in the last, no, 2 years. Twice in the last 2 years, and it was like so bad. I thought I was having a heart attack, and so I did, have tests and stuff, and they found different things. They're
Yeah.
like, no, you're not, but there's something else, and it's like,
Mhm.
what?
Mhm.
What's behind door number 3, right?
I'm not
And
kidding you.
so
Yep.
really, the moral of that is really, you got to take care of yourself. It's
I
it's uh
Yeah.
it's one thing like, oh, I got to pay my bills, but like to make like very good money, when you're
Yes.
making very good money,
It's
it's
not worth it.
not worth it. It's not
Totally
worth
not.
it to sacrifice your health.
Totally not.
Yeah.
I finally, because okay, then I got laid off, and it wasn't just the crisis, but I think there was discrimination going on. My boss was really awesome though, but um like after I got laid off, I was sick for like a month, then like maybe 2, 3 weeks later I got laid off. Then I don't know if it was a week, 2 weeks after I got laid off, I got
Mm.
vertigo.
Oh boy.
And it happened, yeah. So there was a lot going on. I didn't work for a year. I had so many interviews with mortgage, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like, come on. I'm all trying to settle for less, Yeah, I'm like, I'm trying to get anything right now.
Yeah.
But there were little things, and I used to apply once in a while for these advocate jobs, but I
Hmm.
wouldn't do it so much. But this time I was really heavily, and I saw several. I saw some in the Navy, some in the Marine Corps, and I was heavily, and it was just so things happen. There's a reason for everything, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So I finally got a job with a Marine Corps. I was interviewed at Camp Pendleton and then with the one by the airport.
Hmm.
I'm not going to tell you which one. I might get stalkers. No, I'm just kidding. You were saying that to one of the ladies, one of your interviews.
uh
That she didn't want to say where she lives or something.
yeah. Oh no, yeah. No, I remember that. It was Michelle. That was like my
Yeah.
second episode. Yeah, no, so you're what was the way, like, I know you, so you have your degree, but was that what was was the requirement for you to like get a full-time job in victim advocacy, or is it your volunteer experience? What was it that they were looking for?
I think what helped was not just my transcripts, because I've previously, years ago, kind of applied a little bit,
Hmm.
had my having my transcript, but I think with the volunteer, because all those
Oh yeah,
years that I am, volunteering for sexual assault, domestic violence, I think that really helped.
yeah,
And what was I going to say? I mean, I think, I'm good at mortgage, I'm good at compliance, I'm good at that, but
hmm,
that was never my calling. And I'm
yeah.
telling you, I had little signs here and there. I went to this was 2013 when I started working in the credit union. I went to this domestic violence class, and CCS was one of the speakers, Center for Community Solutions, the nonprofit that I help out still.
Okay.
This was back in 2013. And then when I moved back in 2018, me and my friend, she got me this massage envy. So we go get
Oh yeah, yeah.
massages. This lady that was giving a massage she was internal. She was I think a counselor. So she was doing her
Okay.
interns at CCS. She said, you should like at least volunteer if they don't have any jobs. So that's
Okay.
how I started. And now I'm even Gina, Gina,
Yeah.
um, my best friend.
Everybody is like, who's Gina?
Who's Gina? We all grew up together.
Yeah.
Well, her husband, he's a veteran now. He was in the Air
Yeah.
Force.
Yep.
He couldn't even get a job. She was surprised. She's like, oh my God. She's like, I'm so happy for you, but like, oh my God, I can't believe you got a job with the military. Because it's
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard if you're not in. But I believe with my, and timing, I
Right.
probably would have stayed in the mortgage business if I didn't get laid off again and got sick again.
Oh, you might be dead now if you're still
I
in
know,
mortgage.
right? Oh
So
my gosh.
thankfully you got out of there.
Yeah.
So how long was the interview process, or like getting, because so I have friends who work for the government. I have friends who like work for the Department of the Air Force, or whatever it is, DOD. And sometimes they say, "Oh yeah, it took me a year to get hired on." I'm like, I don't know if I would have that kind of time. So how long was it, like, from application to onboarding? How long did it take you?
I think maybe a couple months, but I think it is different with different, like, because I know the Navy, it takes forever. They say it takes
Hmm.
forever. But Marine Corps, I'm thinking 2 months. I mean, I can actually look at, but
Oh
I
my
think a
gosh,
couple
that's
months,
pretty quick. That
maybe
is pretty
three.
quick.
But I think I was applying, was it in July or August? Yeah, because with we're essential workers. So with our kind of business, they want someone in right away.
Oh yeah,
They don't want to
yeah.
leave it empty because there's only two of us. So I wanted to wait till September. They wanted me to start August 30. And I think I I interviewed with them maybe a week or two prior, and they offered me the position.
Oh wow.
And I could have started the end of August, but I wanted to have a little mini vacay before for Labor
What?
Day. So then
I was gonna say, it's like you're working for the military or working for the government. Wouldn't you have Labor Day off anyway? So then it's like, oh, I started, and then like my first day is off.
true. Yeah, no, but they you have to work, you have to start when the pay cycle starts.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So are you like a general schedule employee? I know there's like, oh my gosh, I've gone down the road of like applying for DoD jobs before, and there are a couple of things that scared me off, but who knows? Never say never, but I have said never quite a few times after, like just I don't know. I don't know about working for the government, but um I do know that there's like a million different pay scales because I looked at jobs
Oh
with
yeah.
the FAA, and they had their own pay scale that was kind of mirrored general schedule, and then there's some other ones that like it doesn't. I was like, I don't even understand this. What is this?
Yeah,
So
there's yeah, MCRD, there's NAF and there's GS.
yes, what
And
does
I'm
that
NAF right
mean?
now. And it's hard to explain. Like basically from what I understand, NAF, it's like what when people spend the funding, when people spend like they get gas at the military place, they go to the retail store there. Every time they spend money, they make money, and that's when they can give you raise. You might not get they usually give you a raise, but like you might not get a bonus, or you might because they didn't make enough money this year, or sometimes they even I forgot what they call it, where they're full furlough you, but not me
Oh
because
yeah,
I'm an essential worker, but they'll
right.
furlough everybody else,
Yeah, yeah,
because of the government spending. But that's all I know. But I know GS is a little bit better, but
yeah.
eventually they're supposed to put us GS because we're essential workers. And you know how sexual assault and domestic violence now is ever since the SAPR definitely is the sexual assault prevention.
Vanessa Guillen.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That was.
that one. So now
Mhm,
there's sappers everywhere, and domestic violence. We're family advocacy programs, so we take care of domestic violence and child abuse.
mhm.
So that is becoming big too, and they eventually want us to be GS.
So here's a question for you. Um, there, if there's somebody out there who is like, hey, I want to work in victim advocacy. I'm not sure that I have I don't know, like the genetic makeup for it because I feel like people like you are not, you're not like common because it's such a tough and heavy topic, even just to talk about, but you are somebody who cares for those people. What would you say to somebody who's thinking about it? If you had any piece of advice, what would you give them?
You gotta want to help others. Um, for me, it's very rewarding. I knew this was my calling ever since I was way back, but I always would, social worker, that kind of sort of thing. I always wanted to help others.
Hmm.
Um, you can get your degree in behavioral science, it can be criminal justice, can be social work. You don't necessarily have to have your master's unless you become a manager or something like that. You can just have your bachelor's. Um, volunteering would be helpful, but
Yeah,
to know if you really want to do it, I would start with volunteering because
yeah,
you will know.
yeah,
If you volunteer and you don't want to come back, then this is not for you.
yeah, yeah.
Because I've
I just,
volunteered for
oof.
sexual assault, I've worked at domestic violence shelters, I've helped with local human trafficking.
Mhm.
I mean, this I know. I feel rewarded.
Yeah,
My, I mean, I'm not, I did not, I mean, there were some jobs in the mortgage business or banking that my coworkers were great and managers were loving enough that it was okay. But you know, what's funny is a lot of people think that this job is very hard and demanding. And I was like, you know what? I was stressed way more in
mhm.
mortgage than this.
Right.
We have, they are so for um, home and home and work style.
Yeah. Work-life balance.
Work-life balance. There's so, I mean, with my company, anyways, with Marine Corps in San Diego, they're so about work-life balance. They give you 3 hours PT. You can walk, go to the gym, go
Hey,
in the sauna, whatever, on your work time.
nice.
Yes, it can be mentally, draining at times.
Mhm.
But for me, when I get off that call or when I talk to somebody and I know I've helped them, it
Mhm.
just is rewarding for me. But
Yeah.
my advice would be definitely volunteer if this is what you think you might want to do, because there have been people that I know who have been social workers, or they've gone in this business, and it's like, they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I think that really goes along with that saying. They say, if you find a job that you love, you'll never work another day in your life, right?
yes,
Because it's like you're not working, you're
yes,
doing what you love to do. In service, that's a big one. So, well, I really appreciated you coming on here and telling your story, all the ups and downs in mortgage. Man, I don't want to be a loan officer or anything like that after that, and then it gives me some insight on maybe what my mother-in-law had to deal with, working in a bank for so long. So,
did she do
but
sales, or what did she do?
she was a loan officer. I mean, she
Yeah,
started out as a teller back in the day. I'm not going to say when, so but back in the day, and
yeah.
but I was so I was we were talking earlier, in the studio. We were talking about like old pictures, and so like just to give everybody some context, once again, we grew up together, and the last time we saw each other was 2016. And so it was this crazy time in Nashville where the Preds, which is the hockey team, made it to the Stanley Cup Finals the same week that Bonnaroo was happening outside of town, and the same week the CMA Fest was happening downtown. And so I went with some friends from my small group. I was at Crosspoint Church, and we had a small group, met every like Sunday evening. And so then a few of us were like, hey, let's go down to the Ascend, right? Amphitheater down in downtown Nashville. It's not on Lower Broadway, it's off Lower Broadway. It's like a couple blocks down. And we're like, yeah, we're gonna go down there and watch the Preds game. This is like game 6 of the Stanley Cup finals. And so they came over to the apartment, and then we took an Uber down there because it's like a mile and a half, maybe it was like a mile and a quarter from where I lived, but it was like hot and gross. And then I was like, yeah, let's take an Uber. So it was like $6.32 to go a mile and a quarter. But let me tell you, when we got out of the game and I wanted an Uber, the surge prices were like $28. So my buddy and I just walked back to the apartment. But anyway, we get out there, and I remember you said you were down there. It's like, hey, yeah, let's meet up. And I was trying to text you, and there were so many people on Lower Broadway, so many people in downtown that I couldn't even get a text out. And the Ascend seats like 7,000 people, and let me tell you, there were 7,000 people in there, and so it was the craziest thing. And so, like, what people think of when they think of Nashville is what? Cowboy hats, cowboy boots, country music. But how do you tell a local from a tourist? How do you know they're a tourist? Because the tourists are the ones wearing the cowboy hats and cowboy boots.
which
And so I knew
which was
I was
me.
like, I was like, I gotta look for somebody who's wearing like a cowboy hat and cowboy boots. And then, but it didn't help that you're like, really short.
411.
So but then we met up, and
We
we
did.
it was like too late in the game to find all those pictures because it was so long ago. I'd be scrolling. Probably still be scrolling in my phone looking for those
I
pictures.
thought it was
But
2017.
was it 17?
Yeah, I
Okay,
think so.
2017. Yeah. Oh, okay. So 7 years ago. There we are. All right. So anyway, it it's been awesome having you on the show. Where you can kind of give a rundown of your career path. And what you're doing, I think, is amazing. That's really awesome. It really takes a servant's heart to do. And there's so many lost and broken people in this world who just need love and guidance. And I'm so happy that there are people like you. So man, I'm like really emotional. About to cry
I
here,
really
everybody.
love working for the military, believe it or not. I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love going in. Hi, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. They're so polite and sweet. Everybody's so nice.
Oh,
I
that's
love
the
it.
culture. That's the culture. And if you like, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am, hello, ma'am, you should move to the South. You get that too.
I know, right? You
But
never
it's
know.
just
I
really
can transfer
hot,
anywhere.
hot and humid down here. Just remember that. So anyway, hey, if you guys, thanks for joining us, everybody. If you guys have seen the show before, you know that it happens on Monday evenings. And next week we have a guest. He's not a super special guest. He's a good dude, but he's not a super special guest. His name is Matt Morrissey. Matt and I worked together for the General Insurance back in the day, around that same time, maybe 2017, 2018. But Matt is into so many like technical things. He's been a BI analyst and like done some other programming stuff. Pretty smart guy. And so he's going to come on and talk about his career journey. But until then, you guys have an amazing week, and I'll see you guys later. Melissa, don't go anywhere. Don't hang up because I want to talk to you in the studio. But everybody else, we'll see you guys next week. Peace.